The rain hammered against the cracked windshield as Chen gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white with exhaustion. Another double shift at the warehouse. Another day of choosing between groceries and his daughter's school supplies. But when 7-year-old Emma looked up at him with those wide brown eyes that mirrored her late mother's, asking if they could stop for ice cream, just this once, he couldn't say no. Some battles weren't worth winning if it meant stealing a child's smile. He pulled into the convenience store parking lot, engine still running to keep the heat on for Emma. 2 minutes, sweetheart. Vanilla or chocolate? Surprise me, Daddy. Emma grinned, clutching the worn teddy bear that hadn't left her side since the funeral 18 months ago. Marcus jogged through the downpour, bell chiming as he pushed through the glass door. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the linoleum floor. He headed straight for the freezer section, mentally calculating whether he had enough for gas to last until Friday's paycheck. That's when he heard it. A woman's terrified whimper from the back aisle. Please, I don't have much, but take it. Just don't hurt me. Marcus froze, ice cream forgotten. Every instinct screamed at him to walk away, to think of Emma waiting in the car, to remember he was all she had left in this world. But his feet moved forward anyway, drawn by something stronger than self-preservation. His late wife Sarah's voice echoed in his memory. We don't look away when people need help, Marcus. That's not who we are. He rounded the corner and his blood ran cold. 2 men had a young woman cornered against the shelving, one gripping her purse while the other blocked her escape. She couldn't have been more than 25. Mascara streaming down her face, phone clutched uselessly in her trembling hand. Hey! Marcus's voice came out steadier than he felt. Leave her alone. The larger man turned, revealing a spiderweb tattoo crawling up his neck. He laughed, a sound like gravel in a disposal. Walk away, hero. This ain't your business. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. He'd never been in a real fight, unless you counted wrestling matches with his kid brother 20 years ago. He was a warehouse worker, not a boxer. But he thought of Emma in the car, thought of the world he was leaving for her, thought of what kind of man he wanted her to remember. It is now. Everything happened fast. Spiderweb lunged first, throwing a wild haymaker that Marcus barely dodged. The second man dropped the purse, advancing with a switchblade that caught the fluorescent light. The woman screamed. Marcus grabbed a can from the shelf, soup, beans, something heavy, and swung hard, connecting with the first attacker's temple. The man stumbled backward into a display of chips. The knife came at him in a silver arc. Marcus twisted, feeling the blade slice through his jacket and nick his ribs. Pain blossomed hot and bright. He grabbed the man's wrist and they crashed into the cooler door. Glass shattered. Somewhere far away, sirens wailed. The fight became a blur of desperation and adrenaline. Marcus fought like a cornered animal, fueled not by courage, but by the knowledge that Emma was waiting, that he had to get back to her. He used his weight, his leverage from years of lifting boxes, his sheer, stubborn refusal to let these men win. When the police burst through the door 3 minutes later, both attackers were on the ground, one unconscious, one groaning and clutching his arm. Marcus stood swaying, blood seeping through his shirt, the young woman safe behind him. Daddy! Emma's voice cut through the chaos. She'd gotten out of the car, was running toward him with tears streaming down her face. A female officer caught her gently before she could reach the blood. I'm okay, baby, Marcus called out, though the room was starting to spin. Daddy's okay. He wasn't sure he believed it himself. The emergency room was a nightmare of bright lights and needles. 17 stitches across his ribs, a possibly cracked collarbone, and a lecture from a doctor who looked too young to be out of high school. Emma sat in the corner, teddy bear clutched tight, watching everything with those 2 old eyes that children get when they've already lost one parent. Marcus signed the discharge papers with shaking hands at 2 a.m., calculating how many shifts he'd have to miss for recovery, how far behind on rent that would put them. But Emma was safe. The young woman was safe. That had to count for something. They limped home to their 1-bedroom apartment, and Marcus tucked Emma into the bed they shared, kissing her forehead. Love you to the moon, sweetheart. And back again, Daddy, she whispered. Then quieter. You were brave tonight. No, baby. I was just trying to do the right thing. That's what brave means. He fell asleep on the couch, body aching, mind already dreading the alarm clock. The next morning started like any other kind of disaster. Emma had to wear the same uniform from yesterday because laundry cost quarters they didn't have. Marcus's ribs screamed with every movement. The car barely started. He was late dropping Emma at school, late getting to the warehouse, and pretty sure his supervisor was going to fire him for missing the start of his shift. He was right about that last part. Sorry, Chen, can't have unreliable guys on the floor. Clean out your locker. Marcus stood in the parking lot at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, unemployed, injured, and out of options. He sat in his car and let himself have exactly 60 seconds of despair. Then he pulled out his phone to start searching for new jobs. Because that's what you did when you had a daughter counting on you. That's when a black Mercedes pulled up beside him. The woman who emerged looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Tailored suit, designer sunglasses, carrying herself with the kind of confidence that came from never having to check a price tag. She walked directly to his window and tapped gently. Marcus rolled it down, confused. Marcus Chen? Her voice was cultured, professional, but warm. Yeah? Do I know you? No, but I know you. My daughter showed me the security footage. From last night. She removed her sunglasses, and Marcus's breath caught. This was the young woman from the store, except transformed, poised, powerful, completely in control. That was you? He managed. That was me. Victoria Hartman, CEO of Hartman Industries. She extended her hand. The terrified girl you saved was having the worst night of her life. My car broke down. My phone died. I'd just come from a board meeting that went badly, and I walked into that store looking like anyone's victim. Those men saw an opportunity. You saw a person who needed help. Marcus shook her hand, still processing. You're welcome. But look, I need to get going. I'm not here to say thank you, Mr. Chen. I mean, I am, but that's not why I spent all night. Tracking you down, Victoria. Pulled an envelope from her jacket. I'm here to offer you a job. The world tilted slightly. Excuse me? Head of security for my company. 6-figure salary, full benefits, college fund for your daughter. I did my research. You're a single father. You work hard, you have integrity. She smiled. Last night, you had every reason to walk away. You were tired, injured. You had your child waiting, but you stepped up anyway. That's not something you can teach, Mr. Chen. That's character. And I want people with character working for me. Marcus stared at the envelope, not touching it, afraid it might disappear. I'm not qualified. I move boxes. I don't know anything about corporate security. You knew enough to take down 2 armed men to protect a stranger. The rest we can teach. Victoria's expression softened. I built my company from nothing. Mr. Chen, I know what it's like to struggle, to choose between pride and survival. I also know that the people who help others when it costs them something, those are the people who change the world. Let me give you the chance. My success has given me the chance to stop just surviving and start living. The envelope was heavy in his hands. Inside was a contract, an offer letter, a signing bonus check that made his vision blur. This was enough to catch up on rent, to buy Emma new clothes, to fix the car, to breathe. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you do this? Victoria's eyes glistened. Because 20 years ago, someone gave me a chance when I had nothing. Because you reminded me that there are still good people in the world. Because your daughter should grow up knowing her father's courage was rewarded, not punished. Because... She paused. Because it's the right thing to do. You taught me that again last night. Marcus thought of Emma, of the life he could give her, of Sarah looking down and smiling. He thought of the man he wanted to be, the example he wanted to set. And he thought that maybe, just maybe, doing the right thing could lead to miracles. When do I start? 3 months later, Marcus stood in his new office on the 15th floor, watching the city lights twinkle below. Emma's artwork covered one wall. Her latest drawing showed a stick figure. Daddy with a cape, protecting stick figure people. The caption read, My hero. His phone buzzed. Victoria. Board meeting in 10. Also, Emma's recital is at 7, right? I'll have the conference room cleared by 6:30 so you can leave on time. Marcus smiled. He'd learned something important that rainy night in the convenience store. Heroism wasn't about being fearless. It was about being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. It was about showing up for people who needed help. even when you had every excuse not to. And sometimes when you saved someone else, you ended up saving yourself.